phone on mute or silent. Just sitting comfortably with your feet shoulder width apart. Cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. You can sit cross-legged on the floor. You could sit in whatever your favorite meditation posture is. Just make sure you're comfortable, first of all, and that your back is straight. Those are the only two real requirements of a good meditation posture. Close your eyes and just start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in. And just notice how the stomach rises, chest rises. Clench the sphincter muscle. That's the muscle you use to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Locks the energy in as well. Creates a pumping action up the spine. So you just draw the energy up the spine into your heart center. All the way up into the crown of your head. Pause at the top of the inhale. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up, cresting from the crown of your head. Pause. Be still. Yeah, just scan your mind now. Just noticing any thoughts or emotions going on, particularly anything that's negative by nature. So but any thoughts will do. Bring them to mind, notice them, and then just apply today's workbook lesson. Take another deep breath in as you notice the thoughts. Breathing in some spacious awareness. So just look for any thoughts, particularly apparently little thoughts of irritation, of anger, a little bit of anxiety, sadness, depression, resentment, a grievance. Don't let any of this slip by. Just notice. Breathe into that feeling and just feel it dissipating a little bit. It's just about bringing some space, some awareness into whatever the feeling is, because that automatically starts to dissipate it. There's another awareness that's involved. And just say, I am determined to see this situation differently. It's a situation. I'm determined to see this person differently. And to help you just really let go of your old misperception. Just blow it all out with your breath. Just letting it all go. Imagine you just surrendering it all with the wind of your breath, letting it drop away into the nothingness it really is, blowing it out like a black smoke, dark clouds just being blown away. They have no power to obscure the eternal sun, which is your source, the source of your mind, or the sky, which is your awareness of that source. And so breathe in again. Notice the stomach rise, the chest rise, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench the sphincter muscle, pump the energy up the spine. Put one hand on your heart center. Feel that life energy rising up to the crown of your head. Smile. Mind yourself, there's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Next 25 minutes or so, just breathe, relax, be still. Be mindful of the gap, this beautiful, spacious awareness that opens up in the gap between your thoughts. Allow your mind to go into that, find some peace and some rest, some stillness. Just still aware. Smile. Notice any thoughts still going on there, just bring them to mind. Notice them. And apply today's idea. I'm determined to see things differently. It means everything differently. So I'm determined to see this person, this situation, this object, this problem, whatever arises in your mind. So I'm determined to see it differently. And you exhale. Again, just imagine blowing it out like a dark grey or black smoke out of your mouth. Blowing it away into the nothingness that it really is. Just surrendering into the stillness and the silence. For a few moments. Smile. Connecting in with that spacious awareness that's always there, it's always available. If you notice any thoughts coming up, and just dismiss them by saying, I'm determined to see this, whatever it is, differently. And breathe in again. Nice deep breath in through the nose. Notice how the stomach rises, the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Squeeze the sphincter muscle, draw the energy up the spine, the crown of your head. Pause at the top of the inhale, smile. Connect in with that spacious awareness. Okay, notice any thoughts. Just imagine they're like cloud patterns drifting by. And again, you just dismiss them with the breath, you blow them away. This time, keep your mouth closed, exhale out your nose, make a little sighing sound on the back of your throat. As though you're fogging sunglasses, but you keep your mouth closed. Sigh it all out, so let the chest and your stomach suck back in. And you just come to rest at the bottom of the exhale. And stillness and peace. Smile. And then just repeat that cycle. So just watching the breath, breathing in, noticing all the subtle sensations of the breath. Stomach rising, chest rising. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale, smile. Connect with that spacious awareness. Put one hand on your heart center that helps you connect with your heart space. It's another mantra, something else that the mind can focus on rather than your thoughts. When you exhale, sigh it all out, let the air flow out of your nostrils. Notice the vibration in your throat. Air flows out of the nostrils, chest and the stomach suck back in. The energy subsides back down, front channel of your body into the lower stomach. Going to rest there for a few moments in peace and stillness. Smile. And just repeat that cycle in your own time. Breathing nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. In and out through the nose, just watching the breath. Noticing all the subtle sensations of the breath. Bring your mind into present moment awareness. Remind yourself there's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, and be still. the next 20 minutes. Allow these words I'm going to read you just to sink into your awareness, just to come in like pebbles dropping into a very still, calm lake on a windless day, and you just plop in because your mind is so still. The ripples are going to be very noticeable. The ripple effects, the ripple all the way into your subconscious mind, which is where these ideas and the energy they convey are needed. Just really connect in with that energetic component, the frequency of these words. Because if you can feel what they are pointing to, you can feel the peace and the love and the joy beyond your ego mind, then the intellectual understanding will come of itself. Like intellectual understanding can be a block to that awareness because it's a different kind of intelligence. It's about feeling, emotional intelligence, being willing to let go of thoughts, judgments, perceptions, dropping all of that, opening into this very expansive, lovely, peaceful feeling in your heart. So put your hand on your heart center, so connecting with your heart space, and listen to these words emotionally. Listen with your heart rather than with your mind. I'm going to read you chapter 4, section 4 of the text of A Course in Miracles, which is entitled, "This Need Not Be." So let's hear what Jesus, our Master Teacher, has to say about this. So he starts off by saying, "If you cannot hear the voice for God, this eternal loving presence, which we call God, it is because you do not choose to listen. That you do listen to the voice of your ego is demonstrated by your attitudes, your feelings, and your behavior. Yet, this is what you want. This is what you're fighting to keep, and what you're vigilant to save. Your mind is filled with schemes to save the face of your ego, and you do not seek the face of Christ, which is your true self. The glass in which the ego seeks to see its face is dark indeed. How can it maintain the trick of its existence, except with mirrors? The way you look to find yourself is up to you." So just pause there, keep watching your breath, keeping your mind in a nice, still, calm, empty, open, but aware state. Just by watching your breath. Allowing these words just to plop in like pebbles into a very still, calm lake. Smile. So he continues by saying, "I have said that you cannot change your mind by changing your behavior. But I've also said, and many times, that you can change your mind. When your mood tells you that you have chosen wrongly, and this is so whenever you're not joyous, and no, this need not be. In every case, you've thought wrongly about some brother God created, some person that eternal loving presence created, and are perceiving images your ego makes in a darkened glass. Think honestly what you have thought that God would not have thought, and what you have not thought that God would have you think. Search sincerely for what you've done and left undone accordingly. And then change your mind to think with God's. To think with this eternal loving presence. This may seem hard to do, but it is much easier than trying to think against it. Your mind is one with God's. It is one with this eternal loving presence. That's really the only message of this course. It's a very simple teaching. The problem comes in that we've denied it. As Jesus says, denying this and thinking otherwise has held your ego together, but has literally split your mind. As a loving brother, I'm deeply concerned with your mind and urge you to follow my example as you look at yourself and at your brother and see in both the glorious creations of a glorious Father. Let's pause here, watch your breath. So just reflect on this, that whenever we don't feel completely happy, joyful, and we have chosen wrongly, we've thought wrongly usually about some brother or sister, and we see through a darkened glass. You're perceiving images your ego makes in a darkened glass. This is how egoic perception works. Someone says something, does something, it's really all a projection. Your mind responds to it as though it's real, makes all kinds of judgments, has all kinds of misperceptions. This is the darkened glass. What you're really seeing, just a shadow figure, imagined egoic identity that you create for this person, and in the process you reinforce your own. That's the problem. The only way out of this is just to question all of this and change your mind, change your thinking, to think with God, to think only loving thoughts. That's really what that means. Only unconditionally loving thoughts. Not I love you if you do this, when you do this. I love you when you change. It's I love you anyway. How that looks on the level of form in terms of your behavior will come of itself. So when you're sad, know that this need not be. Depression comes from a sense of being deprived of something you want and do not have. Remember that you are deprived of nothing except by your own decisions, and then decide otherwise. When you're anxious, realize that anxiety comes from the capriciousness of the ego, and know this need not be. You can be as vigilant against the ego's dictates as for them. When you feel guilty, remember that the ego has indeed violated the laws of God, the laws of love, but you have not, because you are not the ego. You are the capital self. Leave, what Jesus advises, leave the, quote, sins of the ego to me. That is what at-one-ment is for. But until you change your mind about those whom your ego has hurt, at-one-ment cannot release you. While you feel guilty, your ego is in command, because only the ego can experience guilt. This need not be. He's telling us very clearly, none of this needs to be. We don't need to be anxious, we don't need to suffer guilt. Any emotion that's not perfectly happy and joyful need not be. But we need to be very vigilant as he continues to advise us. He says, watch your mind for the temptations of the ego and do not be deceived by it. It offers you nothing. When you've given up this voluntary dispiriting, you'll see how your mind can focus and rise above fatigue and heal. Yet you're not sufficiently vigilant against the demands of the ego to disengage yourself. This need not be. Over and over he's telling us we can change our minds. We don't have to continue in this self-defeating cycle, patterns of thought and behavior that really take us nowhere except into a place of darkness and suffering. The habit of engaging with God, eternal loving presence, and His creations is easily made if you actively refuse to let your mind slip away. The problem is not one of concentration, it is the belief that no one, including yourself, is worth consistent effort. Side with me consistently against this deception, and do not permit this shabby belief to pull you back. The disheartened are useless to themselves and to me, that only the ego can be disheartened. Just pause, reflect on all of this, watch your breath, staying in this very nice, still, calm, empty, open but aware state. To allow these words just to permeate in. So Jesus is talking quite a lot about the ego, but the only way of undoing it is looking at it and realizing what it is, how it works, how it operates, and then being willing to let it go. That's what these lessons and these sections of the text are designed to do. Help you to let it go in your mind. So he continues, have you really considered how many opportunities you've had to gladden yourself, and how many of them you have refused? There's no limit to the power of the Son of God, but he can limit the expression of his power as much as he chooses. Your mind and mine can unite in shining your ego away, releasing the strength of God, eternal loving presence, into everything you think and do. Do not settle for anything less than this, and refuse to accept anything but this as your goal. Watch your mind carefully for any beliefs that hinder its accomplishment, and step away from them. Judge how well you have done this by your own feelings, for this is the one right use of judgment. Judgment, like any other defense, can be used to attack or protect, to hurt or to heal. The ego should be brought to judgment and found wanting there. Without your own allegiance, protection, and love, the ego cannot exist. Let it be judged truly, and you must withdraw allegiance, protection, and love from it. So again, pause, watch your breath. Reflect on this profound little paragraph. The one right use of judgment is to judge against the ego. Say, this is unworthy of my mind. This is not what I would think. This is not what I want to allow to control my thoughts, my emotions, my actions, my behavior. I'm done with this. That's the last judgment, when you say I'm done, over. I'm done with judgment and all of its painful consequences. Instead, realize that you are a mirror of truth, in which God Himself, love itself, shines in perfect light. As you breathe in, just breathe in that light. Nice, deep, slow, full inhale. Breathing into your heart center, into the stomach, blowing the stomach up like a light, full balloon. Breathing into every pore of your body, every cell, every muscle. every corner of your mind, every fiber of your being is in the light. That radiant, shining light, shining through your mind. The ego's dark glass, you need but say, I will not look there, because I know these images are not true. And let the Holy One shine on you in peace, knowing that this and only this must be. His mind shone on you in your creation and brought your mind into being. His mind still shines on you and must shine through you. Your ego cannot prevent him from shining on you, but it can prevent you from letting him shine through you. So as you exhale, just have a sense of extending this light, letting it shine through you, radiating out into the world to bless and heal everyone and everything. Shining your lights into the darkness of the world. The more you do that, the more you experience the light yourself. Another deep breath in. Breathing in this light. Imagine it's flowing into every pore of your skin, every cell of your body, every muscle, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. It's infused with a light. Second, another deep breath in. Hold it there briefly and feel that light coming in. So there's only the light, only an awareness of this light. This is the first coming of Christ. The light, merely another name for the creation. Christ is the Son of God. This light is eternal, always, forever. The second coming of Christ means nothing more than the end of the ego's rule and the healing of the mind. I was created like you in the first, and I called you to join with me in the second. I'm in charge of the second coming, and my judgment, which is used only for protection, cannot be wrong because it never attacks. Yours may be so distorted that you believe I was mistaken in choosing you. I assure you this is a mistake of your ego. Do not mistake it for humility. Your ego is trying to convince you that it is real and I am not. Because if I am real, I am no more real than you are. That knowledge, and I assure you that it is knowledge, means that Christ has come into your mind and healed it. So give thanks for that as you exhale, again extending the light. The light in you extends outwards forever, shines into every mind. There is no real limit to that light. And just get a glimpse of that as you surrender in to the light at the bottom of the exhale. Let's read the final paragraph of this section. As you keep watching your breath, breathing in the light, imagine it's flowing into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind. Smile. Just intensify the light as you hold the breath briefly, and then hold it for as long as is comfortable. When you can't hold it anymore, you exhale. Just sigh it all out. extending the light outwards, radiating outwards to all the sonship. Every mind is in the light. When you are in the light, then you're just being an instrument for that light to shine through you into the world. And that is your entire purpose in this world. To realize the light is in you yourself, to surrender so completely to it that it shines through you. Jesus clarifies, he says, I do not attack your ego. It's not about attacking or destroying anything. It's about working with your higher mind, home of the Holy Spirit, whether you're asleep or awake. Just as your ego does with your lower mind, which is its home. I am your vigilance in this, says Jesus, because you're too confused to recognize your own hope. Telling us very clearly, we are very confused. We're looking everywhere for some kind of answer, some kind of salvation, and yet it's in our own minds. It says, I am not mistaken. Your mind will elect to join with mine, and together we are invincible. You and your brother will yet come together in my name, and your sanity will be restored. I raise the dead by knowing that life is an eternal attribute of everything that the living God created. It's eternal living presence that lives in you. So it's the very essence of life itself. So why do you believe it is harder for me? He's also referring to the Holy Spirit. When you think of it as Jesus as a personality, it's not really correct, but if it helps you, you can. Or the Holy Spirit, some more sort of abstract spirit. That's what's speaking to you here. Abstract part of your mind that's coming back into your mind to be remembered. So he says, why do you believe it is harder for me, for this Holy Spirit, to inspire the dispirited or to stabilize the unstable? I do not believe that there is an order of difficulty in miracles. You do. I have called and you will answer. I understand that miracles are natural because they are expressions of love. My calling you is as natural as your answer and as inevitable. And so just to finish this meditation, sink in to this deeper place in your mind where you can hear this calling. Soft voice, gentle whisper, saying, return to me. Turn home to sanity, to peace, to love, to joy. It's all there. It's all available to you. There's nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. Nothing else to think about. The next couple of minutes of silence. Just breathe, relax, and be still. Let the light just shine in your mind. The light of truth, the light of Christ. That's calling you home, You turn your mind to it, to become you, to merge with you. So just breathe, relax, step back, watch your breath, be still. Surrender fully into this beautiful light in your mind for the next 2 minutes of deep silence. Notice any thoughts coming in to distract you, take you away from an awareness of the light. Just notice them, very calm, detached way. Imagine they're like clouds just drifting by. You have no power to obscure the light, the eternal sun of your source. So you just blow them away with the wind of your breath. Use today's mind training lesson. I'm determined to see things differently. So I'm determined to see whatever the situation is you're thinking about, the person or the place or the thing. Determined to see this differently. And just let it drift by. Going, gone, and you sink back into the light. There's no separation between you and the light. It is you and you are it. So just merge with it. Surrender completely to it for the next minute of silence. And so just gently coming back. On the count of 3, bring your awareness back into the body, into the world, by becoming aware again of your physical senses. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises, the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clenching of the sphincter muscle, the rising up of this warm wave of energy up the spine into the crown of your head. Put one hand in your heart center. Smile. Just draw the light up into the crown of your head. Pause. Smile. Breathe. Okay, notice any thoughts clouding that just light awareness. Apply today's lesson. I'm determined to see this, whatever it is, situation, person, place, thing, differently. When you exhale, just notice as you sigh it all out, the energy is just subsiding back down like a wave breaking back into the ocean, flowing down the front channel of your body. The air flows out of your nostrils, vibration in your throat, sighing sounds, and come to rest in the lower stomach and spine. So while your awareness is there, on the count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, wherever you're sitting, feet touching the ground, noticing what you're touching and feeling, your body. There's a subtle taste in your mouth. Smell in your nose. Noticing all these subtle sensations, but from a very light perspective. So you don't have to name these things, judge them, label them, interpret them. Just allow them to be. That's what it means to be non-judgmental, which brings the peace that passes all understanding, the peace that passes the understanding of your ego mind, because judgment will never allow you to experience this peace. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Sight, the sounds arising. Notice how they just come and they go, even if they're continuous. Start to perceive that underlying that continuous sound, got a fountain in the background. Underlying that sound is this deep silence. Silence is the auditory equivalent of light. Already the same reality. Because we've got 5 senses, we perceive it differently. It's quite okay. So don't judge anything you're hearing, just allow it to be. Sounds come and go, just blow through your mind. And on the count of 3, just gently open your eyes. Apply the same principle to whatever you see. So just look around. Allow your eyes to rest randomly on a few objects, just for 2 or 3 seconds at a time. And apply today's mind training lesson one more time. Just say, I am determined to see. I'm determined to see things differently. So I'm determined to see whatever it is that you're seeing differently, and then just move on, say the same thing with another object, very calmly, quite a detached way. Do that for half a dozen objects. I'm determined to see this, whatever it is, differently. Notice that you're really feeling very peaceful and calm, quite detached from whatever you see, in fact, whatever you sense. So these mind training exercises are designed to help you to do that. Just to start practicing non-judgment of everything. The relinquishing of judgment is a fundamental requirement on the spiritual path. If you keep judging everything as separate, somehow different from you, justifying that judgment, then How can your mind ever come back to the awareness of perfect oneness? Separation and oneness cannot and will never reconcile. You must relinquish the one to have the other. You never truly relinquish oneness because it's the truth. There will always be that idea, that awareness in your mind. No matter how hard you try and obliterate it, this is the Holy Spirit that Jesus talks about, the higher mind. He wants to believe in separation, but his entire belief system is simply not true. So I hope you enjoyed that meditation. It's got you into a nice, peaceful, calm, relaxed state. And it's good preparation for today's discussion session, which is all about identifying your FLOP, Fundamental Life Operating Program, which is the ego's fundamental belief, and then undoing it. So if you're out there on YouTube, stick around, listen to the discussion session. If you're on the WhatsApp group, I'm going to record the entire discussion on WhatsApp, so you've got it available on audio immediately if you want to listen to it later. Okay, let's just unmute Karen. Stop the share. Hi,
Sorry.
Karen, still there?
Yeah, I'm here. My computer just went dead.
Oh, right. Let me just get my speaker off. Sorry, I had my speaker on mute. So, yeah, should we do a little expression session? Just check in.
I'm still coming back, so I'll let you go. I'm still coming back, so I'll let you go first again.
Okay. Yeah, I think what's arisen in the last couple of days for me is just judgment and the futility of it. Even when you're aware of the principle of non-judgment, to actually apply it in practice in situations that present themselves is another matter. It's much more difficult than the principle. But I really just came, like last night, I was just like, it's just such a pointless exercise. Jesus says at some point in the course, you know, it's strange that you should cherish an ability that is cherished so deeply, an ability that is so debilitating. And it is. You start to realize, like, any judgment comes into your mind of another person, of yourself, it disturbs your peace. It automatically brings in a sense of disconnection, separation. Of course, that's where the ego likes to. That is the ego. So I had that kind of awareness, and it was a bit. Obviously, I've seen this before, but maybe just to another level of like, okay, you know, this really just is. It's a futile exercise, and I'm willing to be done with it. To just go, okay, I'm really willing to drop it all. So there's no half measures with the course. Jesus is saying it's about letting it go completely, entirely, or not at all. If a little bit of judgment remains in your mind, then the entire ego's thought system lies behind that. So, and your mind is still split. So it's not an easy task, because we have these little fragments of the ego, judgments, and truth is we're addicted to them. Somehow we're addicted to this debilitating process of judgment that really isn't serving us at all. It's not bringing us happiness or peace or joy. And and yet our minds seem to be drawn to it. Somehow want to justify. So yeah, just to it's time to take it to another level and just really completely let that go. Just, okay, I'm not going to engage in judgment ever. Which is easier said than done, as I said. In this world, maybe you need discernment. And I think a lot of the time, that's just another mask for judgment. You say, oh, well, I'm being discerning, I'm protecting myself. Is that really true, or are you just addicted to your judgment and trying to justify it? And I was speaking to myself here. So it's a self-reflection, really, which might be helpful to others as well. So, yeah, just, a deep decision to go, okay, I'm done with it. I really don't want to judge anyone or anything. Just overlook it all, drop the reality of it in your mind, and just find that, nice, empty, open, spacious awareness into which thoughts may arise, but those thoughts will be non-judgmental thoughts. Those thoughts will be happy thoughts. Jesus is not saying you're never going to think while you're in a human form anyway. You're going to think, but you drop your judgment, then you allow happy thoughts to come in, and you can spread that rather than just being all enturbulated with these judgmental thoughts, which really just sabotage your own peace and happiness. So it's ultimately futile because it's self-sabotaging. Well, so that's my my resolution, really, just to go, okay, do not judge, just drop it all. Maybe in certain practical situations you need to have some discernment as to what actions you take, but judgment and seeing people as less than the Christ just won't do anymore, because as soon as I see someone else as less than the Christ, really what I'm saying is there's another identity, and that other identity is me. It's in my mind too, which is how the ego perpetuates itself. So yeah, that's me, I think. What's happening in your world?
That sounds like you've been... Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I'm just going to ask you to start your video because you've got a black screen going on there. Here we go. What's the
sounds like you... quite a lot, actually. I've been working through some of the lessons, some of the workbooks.
Okay.
Doing a bit of backdating, then doing some of the exercises, which I know are designed to bring out stuff. So, I mean, exercise 1 was reflect and draw your life as it is. And then in 5 years' time, which was quite an interesting exercise, then, yeah, it was just how kind of like, I think, separate and a lot, but I guess you're going to discuss that during the session. So I don't want to jump.
Yeah, well, that's just part of it. So just whatever you want to share, whatever, it's really about how you're feeling, thoughts and feelings arising. That's what the expression session is about. So whatever's coming up that's on your mind, on your heart, and it's helpful to express it in just a non-judgmental environment. No one's going to judge you here, or even comment. Well, we can discuss, later. But in the expression, it's just a free sharing, and then when you feel like you've done, then you say, "All right, I'm done."
Okay, so I think instead of discussing what I've done, maybe I'll say I'm feeling a little tired. In a different kind of way. I think scratching the surface with this work, and then going deeper and deeper and deeper. It's not like you going and running around in circles and you feel better and more energized. I guess what's coming up, I mean, after last week's exercise, is an awareness of really who you are, where you're at, and where you want to be, and just acknowledging those thoughts and letting the process flow. But yeah, it brings up quite a lot of stuff that's been on my mind, bringing it to the fore, I suppose. So I'm feeling tired but positive, optimistic. Short and sweet. That's me.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll just make a couple of comments on that as we finish the expression session. I think this journey of transformation, if you're really going to transform yourself, it's not easy. It's not an easy journey. It's not an easy path. You are going to have difficulties, obstacles on the way. If it was easy, we all would have done it. We would have been enlightened. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be human if we'd done the work. This ego thought system is very deep-seated. So I think you've got to realize that it's a process, and that you are going to have difficulties, and it can sometimes seem very tiring. It's really just an unwinding that's happening. So as you go to deeper levels of your mind, you unwind more of the stuff that's there. And often that brings up emotions, thoughts, feelings, physical reactions. So a lot of people, when they're doing spiritual work, get tired, unusually tired physically. Sometimes they get sick, physical symptoms manifest. There's all kinds of things that can arise because the mind is controlling the body. And if these kinds of deep thoughts and emotions are releasing, that releases powerful chemicals in your body. The body responds moment by moment to thought and emotion. And it's an energetic system that's ultimately governed by the mind and by your subconscious mind. So when you're starting to do this deep work and delve into your subconscious and go, so who am I really? What do I really believe? And what's my life really all about? Why am I here? What's my purpose? These kinds of really deep questions. It does stir stuff up, and it that can make you feel tired. It can make you feel physically ill, sick, nauseous, all kinds of things. Deep, it's almost a detox reaction. You'll know because you're in the food industry. And if you do like physical cleansing, you detox, you're going to have a reaction. The body's going to, you might get headaches and so on. It's the same kind of thing that's happening.
Sorry to interrupt. It was the weirdest thing. Last week, I think for 5 days or so, I had this like uncontrollable sweating around my base and sacral chakra. Like unreal. I would shower and I'd be dripping with sweat.
Just there.
Seat of power in Kundalini, right?
Yeah. It's an energy center. So.
And I was like at the stage where I was kind of, it sounds gross, but dripping with sweat when I got up in the morning. And I said to Bruce, I'm like, I'm so not near that stage of a woman's life, like menopause. I hope it's not that. And then it just stopped all of a sudden on, I think, Friday. So that's what it must have been, a bit of a cleansing.
Yeah, I think so. As I said, there's all kinds of things, physical, mental, emotional reactions that can happen when you do this, and you've just kind of got to go with it. Go, okay, it's part of the process of healing. It's not always a smooth ride, because these things have got to unwind and unfold, and depending on what's in there, it's got to kind of come up to the light of awareness, and that's part of the healing process. So sort of the idea that, sometimes you need to get sicker to get better. It's like a fever, you get sicker, you go deep into the fever, and then eventually the fever breaks and, you get through it and you start recovering. So it's sort of that idea of going into the dark night of the soul and going, okay, well, let me push into the discomfort. Most people's reaction to discomfort is, oh, I want to get away from it. I want to somehow suppress it. I want to eliminate this discomfort. And we have a society that's geared up to that, where there's a whole drug industry that's designed exactly around that. Oh, I've got some discomfort, so let me pop a pill, go to the doctor, take a drug, and I'll just suppress it. That'll make me feel temporarily better because I'm just going to suppress the symptom. Instead of going, okay, well, maybe I need to feel it. Maybe that's part of my healing. And I need to then look at, what's the underlying cause of this. And it's coming up into awareness so that I can acknowledge it and try and resolve it and try and heal it, rather than go, oh, I'll just take a pill and then suppress the symptom so I don't even notice it. That's not the healing approach at all. So it's a deep-seated cultural conditioning that we don't want. Somehow we have this illusion that life should be always nice and happy and smooth, and discomfort is somehow bad. And if it happens, we should do whatever we can, but usually on the level of form. See, this is the problem. People are trying to solve problems on the level of form, and they can't really be solved there. The fundamental issues are much deeper. It's the causes in your mind, your subconscious mind, everything. And that's what the Course is saying. Everything's mind. This entire world is a miscreation of your mind. Energy is projected thought. So unless we go to the level of mind and really look at these fundamental beliefs, we're not really doing anything. We're just trying to rearrange the furniture on the surface level. Rearrange the furniture on the deck chairs on the Titanic, as the saying. So the ship is sinking. The ego ship is going to sink, and yet we somehow try and make it better just on that very superficial level, and that's not really going to work. And the Course is this Art of Letting Go course and a Course in Miracles are designed to take you much deeper than that superficial level. Take you into a really deep inquiry about, your beliefs, who you think you are, really exposing, the false beliefs, which is what we did last week. So it's not really accidental that then, for the next few days, you have this major reaction. In that, so it was your second chakra, was it? Or your third? It was sort of all just around your stomach.
There's actually probably 3: Kundalini, stomach, and close to my heart.
Yeah. So just below the heart center in your lower torso.
Yeah.
So those are your lower 3 chakras, which is where the ego resides mostly. It wants to keep you stuck there in those lower energy centers, which correspond with levels of consciousness. And if you start unwinding some of that, you start undoing some of those beliefs, then you are going to release energy, say energy centers. And then you got sweats as there's obviously some heat being released. So that's a good sign. It means there's stuff unwinding. Blocks. Idea is to raise your awareness up into your heart center, really start to become established in your heart. And then from there, if you've really cleared your lower 3 chakras and they're nice and open, you can start to work with the other ones, the throat chakra, third eye, and your crown, and just open them up. And they just, they're symbols of what's actually happening in your mind. So if you're doing the work on a mind level, that's why the Course doesn't really go into chakras and energy centers, because that will kind of take care of itself. If you're really doing this work, you'll start to unblock all of that. And your so-called energy system on this level is going to function much better. But you might find some reactions happening. So I've listened to the likes of Joe Dispenza. It's quite an interesting guy, and some guy was saying, well, sometimes I have these like intense kind of reactions where almost the energy so much I like pass out. I've had that a couple of times in my life where I'm just like, this is too much, and you just actually just drop into unconsciousness for generally in a minute or two. But obviously, if you're standing up, it means you're gonna just hit the deck, which I did on a couple of occasions. And you can kind of get a bit freaked out by stuff like that and go like, what's wrong with me? Because the medics will go, oh, you've got some terrible problem. And it's not actually. It's just it's an arising of energy, releasing this powerful energy, this Kundalini energy, as it's called in the yogic tradition. And if that happens quickly, then it goes into your head. That amount of energy can be so intense that you can just pass out because you're not used to it, and the brain can't kind of handle that amount of energy and still stay conscious. And he described a number of instances where it happened to him. I was like, okay, interesting. Where he'd be like, said it was terrible because he'd be like teaching a meditation or he'd be doing a seminar, and then he just like man down. He goes up, and he's like, oh, I can feel it coming on. This isn't good. And he's like, doom, man down. And then he comes back like whatever, 20 minutes later or whatever, and he doesn't know how long it is. And there's like one person left. They've all left. She says to him, oh, well, that I have to say that wasn't really a great meditation because you passed out on us. It's like, I'm sorry. I just couldn't help it. So can be quite amusing as well if you see the light-hearted side of it. But yeah, I think if you start this work, you've got to be prepared for whatever comes, and it's not always easy to deal with these things that come up. But you just kind of got to, instead of going, I've got to fix this, I've got to mask the symptom or suppress it, just go, okay, well, let it come. This is part of the healing. Stuff's got to unwind. The symptoms will come, but they'll probably go. Often, these things are very transient and temporary. It's just part of the process of unwinding yourself from this very deep-seated nightmare of the ego, which we've literally screwed ourselves into. It's like screwing a screw deeply into a brick wall or a piece of wood or something, and it's so tight and it's so screwed in because you've done that for so many years that now you've got to. It's going to take some real undoing, some effort to unlock that, and in the process, some stuff, there might be gunk in there that's got to come out. It's just part of the process. What I can say is keep at it, stick with it, and if you're determined, I like the last two lessons, today's and yesterday's. I'm determined to see, which is a really nice lesson to bring up, because determination ultimately just does take a lot of determination, a lot of courage to say, okay, I'm determined to do this, and I know it's not always going to be easy, but I don't really see any other way. Staying in my egos and trying to avoid healing my mind is not really going to work ever. So that's a futile exercise. I'm just wasting my time if I'm doing that. At least this way, yes, it might be difficult, but I am really making progress. I'm going on this journey back to source, back to God, which is the calling. That's why we're here. There's no other reason for your life than that. So I think at some point you get past the point of no return, where you go, okay, I'm committed to this no matter what. Even if it kills me, it's that sort of total commitment. Even if my body dies, it's because it's not really about the body. It's about this, it's about transforming my mind, and that's eternal. And so I guess a good example of that was Jesus, who, his path eventually did kill him. It killed his body, right? And then he resurrected. So, but, he had to go through that whole crucifixion experience. That was part of his path. And he wasn't afraid of it. He just went, okay, we'll bring it on, not my will, but thy will be done. That's, that's the surrender. It's like, okay, well, I don't really know. What's in my best interest. I don't really know how to do this. So I'm going to surrender, and I'm going to go wherever that takes me. And even if that seems to be a bad place, a dark place or whatever, I've got to trust, that the Spirit knows, and then it will guide me and it will lead me through the darkness into the light. So that's just some reflections on this path of transformation and healing, and the hero's journey really that you're on. It's worth really going into. I've sent you a link to an article which details what that hero's journey is. It's worth really studying that, because it'll help you get some clarity on what on what the nature of the journey is, and that it's not an easy one. And when you expect that, then you don't have these false expectations of, oh, it's all going to be la-di-da and lovely. You have to go through some difficult times in the dark nights of the souls. You really face your demons, you face the ego, and you go, this isn't nice, and you can have all kinds of not very nice thoughts, which you wouldn't really want to share with people, and that's okay. You can just process them and let them flow through your mind, and release. So yeah, all I can say is just keep at it, and well done. You're sticking with the process. You're 4 weeks into the course now, getting into the real heart of it. This is the nitty gritty of what it's about. It's flipping your flop, flipping the fundamental life operating program, which is the ego. And what's the core belief that underpins that? And you can see that, and immediately it's possible to turn it around. Which kind of leads us quite nicely into what I want to do, the exercise 7, which is
I'll tell you something funny first before we go into the lesson.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I was just catching up on the lessons, and Friday's lesson, your inspirational message of the day on the right-hand side said, think about things differently. And as I wrote it down, I actually wrote the word myself backwards without thinking about it differently. So then Bruce came and called me for lunch, and I said, just hold on, I'm busy in the middle of something. And then he's like, what are you learning? I said, I just taught myself how to write backwards and differently. He says, so how's that going to help you? I said, it's going to teach me how to learn to see things differently. That was all my response was. And he's like, oh.
Yeah, which is true.
It was weird because I used to be at school, I used to be ambidextrous. So I could just switch hands. But I don't think I've written backwards as such since I was a child. And I just literally
just did it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for that feedback. I decided to put some visuals to these the quotes as well as the lesson, just to help people get maybe a little bit of a different experience with it. So there's text, and that's there's a concept there, there's words, but often the visuals just it brings something else into it, as it did then, because it was written backwards. Suddenly something just triggered, and you wrote it backwards, and you're like, oh, that actually just was quite an interesting experience. So it's just like multi-dimensional, really trying to like tap into all the different ways that we learn, so that you can, you know, accelerate the learning experience. Really, that's what this is about. It's immersing yourself in a different experience, and all these are just tools to help you do that. So that's great. If that worked for you, then always feel free to send me feedback on the Slack. So if you drop me a little email or text message, that's great, because it helps me to know what's working and what's not. Okay, so let's have a look at exercise 5. You've got your manual there. I'm going to put it on the screen as well. So first of all, any questions about the other exercises? Exercises 1 to 4, exercise 6. Sounds like you've done them all, so that's good. Any questions, anything you want to discuss on those?
No, well, no, I think the cubes and I showed you the thinking outside of the box one was relatively easy for me. It was out the box, and then the 16 boxes. I don't know how many you said. I got to about 67 in the second round.
I counted 87 once, but that could be wrong. But the main point is that you saw a lot more than 16. That's really the only point of that exercise.
For both exercise 2 and 3, I noticed that there was almost like an overriding emotion of fear, aloneness, and separation, and a feeling of being misunderstood. And then, like when I found that I could do it and count the more boxes and get the exercise 2 right with the 4 lines quite quickly, I thought, felt it out, and I thought it was, wow, that was like great, and I did it. But then I realized it was probably a little bit pride, which is obviously linked to the ego.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's the idea of the exercises, to do them and then watch your thoughts and emotions and go, okay, so what's coming up there? And be really honest with yourself in doing that. I was impressed that you got that so quickly, because most people struggle. So that kind of shows that there's a real creativity. You know what I mean? There's something that can just get stuck. And I guess what you've got to ask yourself is, where do you block that ability? Where do you get stuck with it? Because it's like, oh no, you just did it. But then I've noticed in other areas you kind of get a little bit stuck, and so it's really going, okay, so I've got the capacity. I mean, everyone does, but it sounds like there's a real creative flair in there, like ambidextrous, and that points to a high degree of creativity. And then it's just about going, okay, well, how do I really unlock that, and just be able to like tap into that moment by moment, because that's the spirit coming through you, and that's going to make you much more functional and effective in everything you do. To just be able to solve problems, creative. You don't get stuck in the limited thinking. We all do it to a point. I mean, that's what these exercises are designed to show. Like, okay, well, how do you do this? How you approach these exercises is how you're going to approach your life. Really, it's a little mirror of how you approach your life, how you approach problems in your life. I've seen it over and over in workshops and stuff, and people do it. You can just see, that person's blocks come out in these exercises. So yeah, if it revealed something, you saw something that's all good. You got exercise 2, seeing different perspectives. That's always an interesting one. So it just shows you how our perception works, doesn't it? So in that left-hand box, exercise 4, you can see 2 different perspectives, but you can't see them at the same time. You notice that? So you see one, and then you can close your eyes and you can flick to another, and then you can revert back to another, and it's like, but you cannot see them simultaneously. It's impossible, which is quite a good sort of mirror of how the ego works, ego and the spirit. You can flick between them, and in fact, we're doing that all the time. And I'm looking at this box, and as I blink, just try it. You focus, and then you blink, and it can just switch. The moment you blink, that left box can switch. You can see it coming out the page at you, or you can see it going into the page. And it can just switch in an instant, can't it? It's so interesting how that works. So it's just a little perception exercise to go, well, look, you can see these alternate perspectives, but you can't see both at the same time, which is how the ego and the spirit work. You can never see fear and love at the same time. You can alternate between them, but those perceptions are alternating. And then this is almost like what the ego is trying to get you to do here is to make sense of it. The right-hand side one. Did you stare at it for a minute or two and just notice, like, it doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No.
But I didn't get myself overly concerned about it.
No.
What I wrote was, by adding a different view of the cube on the right, a different dimension is added. This must be similar to our thoughts. By adding a different dimension, we can get to a different understanding and perspective.
Yeah.
That's just what I noted down.
Yeah.
Because I want to get trapped in that analytical kind of like, why is this not working? Why is this not working? And then I just took a step back and said, but what is this really? It's just perception anyway.
Yeah. And it doesn't make sense. So if you try and solve that and you try and figure that out, you can spend hours and hours just going, like, this doesn't, and the only answer is to go, well, it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't really work. It's not actually a true cube. It's a false kind of construct, and it will never make sense. And that's again symptomatic of what we need to do with the ego. We need to look at its thought system and go, okay, this doesn't really make sense. I can analyze this, and to a point, the course is training you to do that, to look at it, but you're never going to make this thought system work because it's flawed. There's no logic to it. It doesn't make sense. And so whatever it's created, the world is kind of a projection of this kind of thinking. It doesn't work. It's never going to work. We never really going to make this world work because based on a false idea. That's the fundamental teaching of the course. And until we're ready to accept that, we're going to frustrate ourselves endlessly. We're just going to go round and around trying to figure this impossible cube, this impossible problem out, impossible problem of separation, trying to make it work, try and figure it out, try and justify it, try and somehow get ahead in this world, somehow make it work for us, get what we think we want, we need. And the course is just training us to say, no, that's just not going to work ever. You need to really look at the whole thought system, see the impossibility of it, see the insanity of it, and be willing to drop it all and just go, oh, I'm willing to just let go of all the mechanisms that make up this impossible dream that I've got myself wound into. And that's what the transformation is really about. Which brings us nicely to this. So naming your ego's game. So how did you find last week's session? You said you had a bit of a reaction, that sweating. Anything else arise?
Jono, I'm just going to send you my exercise 1. You just said something that makes me think that I should just send it to you. I'm just sending you the first part and then the second part by WhatsApp just to yourself.
Yeah, okay.
And And
Do
then,
you want me to look at it now?
yeah, you can do. Great.
Okay.
Nothing major, just what you said made me think, maybe I should share it with you. You might have some input or insight.
Yeah, okay, that's all good. It's just bring up WhatsApp. There we go. So it's just come through. Okay. Let's just see what's going on. Oh dear. Oh, that's a shame. I just lost my entire recording. Anyway, never mind. No, it's on the WhatsApp group because I went out of that group to try and see it. I was like, just disappeared. Never mind. Yeah, I've recorded it on here, so it's okay. But I'll just send it. I'll send the link to the YouTube video to everyone, so they can listen to it on YouTube. Okay, so let's just expand this a bit. So what have we got going on? A bit broken, a bit sore, but there's a candle flame. What have you said under the candle?
They're trying to keep the candle alight.
I keep the candle alight. Okay.
And you've got like a tear, a bit sad, and then a
bit sad. Okay. Trying to keep the candle alight. A bit broken, a bit sore. Okay. Very, very misunderstood. Very restricted. Okay. What does it say?
Energetically.
Energetically. Oh. Okay. So that was one part, and then what else did you do?
And
then this is where you want to move to.
Yes.
Yeah. Love. What's that circle? Passion.
Yes.
Love, passion, abundance, infinite harmony, peace, and light. Those grapes. Okay.
Grapes or apples?
Grapes or apples. Okay. Yeah, so it's just a self-reflective exercise to go, where am I currently, where would I like to be? And the prayer of your heart is desire. I was listening to David Hoffmeister the other day, and it's going on about what a true prayer is, and true prayer is in your heart. True prayer is the desire of your heart. So if you can connect with these kinds of things and go, yes, I acknowledge that I'm not necessarily feeling that way right now, but my desire is for this love, this abundance, peace, light, and that's the real desire of my heart, and that's all I really want. Then the world moves. That prayer, that true desire will move people, circumstances, events, because energetically, that's how this whole matrix works. The quantum field responds to thought, but particularly it responds to emotion. Responds to powerful emotion. I don't know if you watched that Greg Braden video I sent a week or two ago in one of the emails. It was on praying rain, and not praying for rain. He said, you pray rain, and it was really interesting. I'm glad I watched it again. It was a really good reminder. And so he describes this experience he had with a Native American friend who invited him to do a
ceremony, and
prayer for rain.
And they walked to the top of the mountain. I didn't actually watch your video, but I've seen it about 10 years ago. And they actually stood there, and the Native American turned around and was leaving. And Greg said, "But you haven't done anything."
Yes.
And he said, "Yes, I did. I felt it."
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yes. So he went to a sacred site. So it was like a stone circle, which is quite interesting because around the world, those seem to be amplifiers somehow into the quantum field. They amplify whatever energy, and emotion is energy and motion. So if you go into that, and obviously this Native American Indian understood that from his his ancestry, that these were powerful so-called sacred sites. The truth is, nothing in an illusion is sacred, but there are definitely sites in this world where there is a kind of a concentration of this kind of energy. The quantum field concentrates, whatever you want to call it. There's something in that site that seems to focus or concentrate whatever energy is put into it. So if you go there with a powerful, positive desire, but it was a feeling, really. It was feeling into it. They just felt. And he was like, I'm feeling the rain. I'm feeling what it feels like. So he's imagining, what rain feels like when it's coming down, and the mud on his toes, and the feeling of it, like really getting to the emotion of it, like a gratitude for it. And, it's so nice to have rain after all these years of drought, breathing in the air, smelling the, and that somehow, it certainly wasn't a coincidence. You can't say after years and years of a drought, suddenly they do this, and then, that afternoon it starts raining. Well, that evening, I think it started raining a few hours later. It's like, is that coincidental? Or, is there something to this? And it was just because he went deeply into the emotion of it and really felt it. And that's the desire of the heart. That's the prayer of the heart. So this is another way of praying. It's not, oh, please God, or, whatever you believe in, universe, do this for me, and I want this, I desire this. It's actually saying I'm already experiencing it. I'm experiencing the emotion of it already. Although the physical thing, if in this case it was rain, hasn't manifested yet. I'm able to experience that emotion right now. And that's always available to us. These emotions you're showing me, love, passion, peace, abundance, light, they're available to us. So what Jesus is saying is just experiencing them now for no particular reason. You don't need anything to happen for you to experience it. You just experience them because they're there, they're available, and you choose to. That's the desire of your heart, the prayer of your heart. And then, in strange and miraculous ways, the matrix, the quantum field, responds to that. You start getting things coming back to you, showing up that then show you that the desire of your heart, prayer of your heart, has been answered in ways you can't really imagine. So this goes way beyond the idea of conscious manifestation. Going, I want this. You probably read or you watched the movie The Secret years ago, which is all about, well, you just think it and you can conceive it and you visualize it and you focus your attention, your energy on it, and you can have it. Sort of like, the universe is a giant candy store, and you can just imagine what you want, and it's going to produce the candy you want. But there's a deeper, much deeper level than that, because that was still, oh well, I need to manifest something externally to make me happy. That's the underlying assumption. This is saying, no, I just need to connect with these powerful emotions now. I need to be happy now. I'm being first. I'm being happy. I'm being loving. I'm being peaceful. And for no particular reason, I don't need anything to happen for me to be those. And because I'm being those and I'm feeling those emotions, I'm then sending this into the quantum field, and stuff's going to come back that sort of reflects that energy. Um, so that's the true way to pray. You just pray with your heart. You pray with your feelings, and the deeper you go into these, the more kind of miraculous stuff starts showing up in whatever way. You don't have to control that. You don't have to go, oh well, I need this to happen, or you just kind of go, okay, well, I'm in this. I'm in the prayer of my heart. I'm feeling connected to this infinite love and abundance and peace. And show me, I've got, the stuff to do in my physical material existence, and I'll be shown how to do that differently. Things will guide me. There'll be guidance as to what I should do, what I should say. So the course is it talks quite a lot about that, about guidance and going into the this deep place of connection with spirit, and then listening to the guidance that comes, which can be very practical, which can help you in very practical ways in your daily life. That's really the job of the Holy Spirit, is to reinterpret these infinite, these are energies that are not of this world, but to reinterpret them in this world, in your experience in this world, in a way that's very helpful to you. It shows you more and more that this is what you want, and this is the only experience, this experience of love, peace, and joy. That's the only experience you really want, and you're willing to allow this to come through you. Allow yourself to be used in in many ways in your daily life. That these things can just come through you and speak through you and work through you. Being done through is how David Hoffmeister expressed it. To be done through. So you're not the doer. You're the parent person, being done through by these powerful energies of love and peace, all of which you can call the Holy Spirit or the Christ mind. It doesn't really matter what you call it. The light, the God self, the love of God. The words really just point to an experience. So yeah, well done. If you've done that exercise, helped you to connect with that, it's very helpful. Okay. Any other questions or anything? No. All right. Let's just go back to exercise 5. So yeah, just once we did last week's exercise, what did anything sharp for you? What came into mind? You said you had that experience with the sweating. Did you manage to do this on your own, by the way?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. So what showed up? If you like, I'll stop the recording because it starts to get into personal material. What showed up for you really? Let me see if I can do the not live thing. Pause recording. Okay, so we stop the recording and stop the share because then I think I can go off YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, thank you for listening so far. That was an interesting session. If you'd like to go through this process yourself, this Art of Letting Go course, 6-week process, just join me for the Art of Letting Go Masterclass this Thursday at 7 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. South African time. And I'll give you a full introduction as to what the course is about, how you can get involved in it, how you can do it. Just go to TheAOLG, that's TheAOLG.com. I'll put that in the little message accompanying this video. The link will be down there. So head over there and can find out more and register for this free masterclass. And yeah, you can join us on the next course.